He was once a desperate young man forced to accept that he would never possess enough talent to become the king of speed. He was once mocked by the entire F1 village, looked down upon by the bigwigs as a reckless outsider, borrowing debt to squeeze his way into high society. But today, Christian Horner is no longer standing on the sidelines. He is the architect of the destructive Red Bull empire, holding the hand of a pop icon desired by millions of men, and living in a vast estate where million-dollar Aston Martins sit silently next to thoroughbred racehorses. From that failed boy of yesteryear to a fire-breathing godfather, Horner seemed to hold the invulnerable shield of money and power. That is, until lewd text messages were leaked, pushing him off the throne of an empire. How did the career of one of the most powerful figures in F1 collapse just because of text messages and behind the closed iron gates of that million-dollar farm? What is the former king plotting right now? Let's step into the mysterious world inside the sanctuary of Christian Horner. The Leamington scion in Shattered Dreams. Born on a cold November day in 1973, young Christian grew up in a family where the breath of the automotive industry had permeated through generations. His grandfather was the purchasing manager for Standard Motor, and his father was the founder of a successful car component supply company. It could be said that instead of lullabies, Christian grew up with the growl of engines and the pungent, characteristic smell of motor oil from repair garages. While peers at the prestigious Arnold Lodge or later Warwick School were engrossed in soccer, cricket, or aristocratic English high tea, Christian's mind drifted to fiery racetracks. That boy carried a strange obsession, a desire to control mechanical machines and push them to their absolute limits. The first turning point of his life came at age 12 when Christian begged his parents to buy him an old go-kart. It wasn't a flashy toy, but a passport into a completely different world. The first time he put the helmet on, lowered the visor, and hit the gas pedal, the world around him seemed to vanish. No more academic pressure, no more rigid social rules, only the violent vibration of the steering wheel and the wind whistling past his ears. That was the moment Christian found his ego. He realized that he wasn't born to sit behind a desk. He was born to conquer speed. Christian's teenage years were a fascinating double life by day, a neat student in a Warwick uniform. But on weekends, he transformed into a grease-stained racer on the wet, muddy karting tracks of England. Although the family was wealthy, Christian's father was not one to spoil his children blindly. He taught his son the first lesson of business: if you want to race, you have to find a way to sustain it yourself. And so, the qualities of a future tycoon began to reveal themselves even earlier than his driving talent. The young Christian Horner didn't just know how to hit the gas, he knew how to knock on the doors of local businesses, persuading them to sponsor him, even if it was just for a few £100 or a set of new tires. He possessed an innate shrewdness and diplomatic ability, weapons that would later become sharper than any tactic on the racetrack. Christian's racing career advanced quite quickly. In '91, he won a scholarship to the prestigious Formula Renault, a stepping stone every young driver dreams of. From Formula Renault to British Formula 3, Christian tasted both the flavor of victory and bitter defeats. He was a good driver, certainly, with smooth handling and good tactical thinking. But deep down, amid sleepless nights worrying about the next race, a cruel question began to kindle in the young man's mind. Am I truly excellent enough to touch the Formula One throne? The answer to that doubt came in the most ruthless, yet awakening way at the Estoril circuit in Portugal. When Christian was competing in Formula 3000, the tier just below F1, it was a sunny and windy afternoon. Christian was driving his car, stressed to the limit, trying to wring out every bit of strength to keep the wheels steady through sharp corners. He thought he had reached his limit, going as fast as possible. But then an engine sound tearing through the wind roared from behind. Another car shot past Christian right at the most dangerous corner. The driver of that car was Juan Pablo Montoya, a monster from Colombia. Christian stared in shock as his opponent controlled the car, sliding over the grass verge, wheels spinning wildly, the chassis shaking violently, yet maintaining a terrifying speed without losing control. That moment was like a bucket of ice water thrown straight into the ambitious young man's face. Christian recounted that when he saw Montoya go through that corner, he realized the difference between a good driver and a genius. He knew that even if he trained for a lifetime and traded everything, he could never connect with the car in the wild. Instinctual way Montoya did. It was the moment his ego hit rock bottom. The moment the dream of becoming a world champion shattered right before his eyes. Christian Horner, with a ruthlessness and cold practicality toward himself, decided to stop. He understood that if he continued, he would only be a high-class journeyman, a faded name in history. But life always has strange turns. When the cockpit door closed, another door larger, more dangerous, but also more glorious was opening. Christian Horner took off his sweat-soaked racing suit, but he didn't leave the track. Instead of holding the steering wheel, he decided he would hold power. That 25-year-old man, with the broken heart of a failed racer, came up with a crazy idea no one dared to think of. If he couldn't be the king, he would become the kingmaker. And to do that, he needed the biggest gamble of his life. A gamble starting with massive debts and a dilapidated trailer bought from a mysterious Austrian man, someone who would later become a partner, and also a thorn in his side for 2 decades. The rise of the energy drink team. A 25-year-old guy, an age where most young men are still fumbling with the first rungs of their career or lost in all-night parties, Christian Horner was doing something crazy no one dared to imagine taking on debt, not to buy a house or a luxury car, but borrowing a massive sum from family and banks to found his own racing team named Arden International. It was 19 knives, and the luggage of this young boss contained only recklessness and a cold, calculating head. To save costs, Horner sought out Helmut Marko, a notoriously difficult figure in the Red Bull Junior team at the time, to buy an old trailer to serve as a mobile headquarters. Can you picture that scene, a second-hand trailer, peeling paint, with seasoned engineers inside staring at their baby-faced boss with eyes full of skepticism? But from that shabby mobile warehouse, Christian Horner began writing his legend. Arden International, under his steering, didn't just survive, it dominated F3000, becoming a launchpad for a series of young talents. Horner proved to the world he might not be the fastest driver, but he knew how to operate the smoothest winning machine. The echoes of victories in the lower leagues reached the ears of Dietrich Mateschitz, the Austrian billionaire behind the Red Bull energy drink empire. In 2005, when Mateschitz bought the ruins of the failing Jaguar team to form Red Bull Racing, he needed a fresh breeze, someone crazy and hungry enough to change the culture of failure deeply ingrained in the team. And Christian Horner. Then only 31 was chosen. The entire F1 village laughed at this decision. The press mocked, rivals sneered. How could a young guy who had never tasted F1 sit at the same table as seasoned old foxes like Ron Dennis of McLaren or John Tuft of Ferrari? They called Red Bull the drinks company team and believed Horner would be swallowed whole within 6 months. But they were wrong. Horner walked into the meeting room not with fear, but with his trademark smirk and a bold plan. He understood that to win this Game of Thrones, money wasn't enough. He needed a genius brain. And so the most important transfer of his life wasn't a driver, but an engineer, Adrian Newey. With skillful persuasion and ambitious vision, Horner lured design wizard Adrian Newey away from the glamorous McLaren to his fledgling team. That was the first brick in building the empire. The combination of Horner's sharp management and Newey's aerodynamic genius turned Red Bull from jokers into monsters on the track. The period from 2010 to 2013 was the most brilliant era people had ever witnessed. Along with the proud finger of Sebastian Vettel, Horner's team won 4 consecutive world championships. Champagne corks popped endlessly. Parties raged from Monaco to Singapore. Christian Horner went from being despised to boldly stepping into the position of a new godfather in racing. He stood on the podium, looking down at those who once mocked him, his eyes gleaming with the pride of a conqueror. But every peak has a downward slope. The hybrid engine era, beginning in 2014, was when the Red Bull empire was crushed by Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. Those were years Horner had to swallow bitterness, watching rivals dominate. But it is in adversity that the bravery of the alpha wolf is truly revealed. He didn't give up. He didn't accept second place. He bet on a partnership with Honda, And more importantly, he nurtured a prickly, rough diamond, Max Verstappen. The 21 war between Red Bull and Mercedes, between Horner and Toto Wolff, became the most dramatic page of modern F1 history. Heated wars of words, headphones smashed to pieces on tables, and the climax on the final lap in Abu Dhabi. When Max Verstappen passed Hamilton at that fateful corner, Horner screamed over the radio, tears streaming down. It wasn't just a victory, it was the release of 8 years of pent-up pressure, a reaffirmation of dominance. And then, 2023 saw the RB19 under his management become the most successful car in history, sweeping every record, taking Horner and the team to a height no one had ever touched. Standing at the pinnacle of glory at the end of 2023, Christian Horner seemed to have it all: absolute power, uncountable wealth, and the respect of the world. He was the uncrowned king of speed, the man who could control the weather in the paddock with just a frown. But ironically, when the stage lights were brightest, the darkest corners began to be exposed. From a fairy tale wedding to the nightmare named File 76, the aura of Formula One doesn't just illuminate shining gold trophies, it acts like a giant magnifying glass, scrutinizing and scorching the most private corners of those in the circle of power. For Christian Horner, life behind closed doors was never a calm river. It was full of fierce undercurrents capable of drowning the faint-hearted. Before becoming the face of British high society glamour, Horner lived a relatively quiet life beside Beverly Allen, the woman who accompanied him for 14 long years. Those were the years he built his career from zero, and Beverly was the solid rear guard in the shadows. But then, in 2014, an emotional earthquake erupted, exposing the cold ruthlessness in this man's character, not just in business, but in love. Just 6 months after Beverly gave birth to their first daughter, Olivia, Christian Horner walked away. The decision was abrupt and sharp, like the way he fired an underperforming driver, leaving behind shock and harsh criticism from the public. People called him heartless, a man ready to sacrifice old ties to chase a newer, more attractive call. And that call was named Jerry Halliwell, the hot ginger spice of the legendary Spice Girls. The union between one of racing's most powerful tycoons and a global pop icon created a media explosion. Two seemingly alien worlds suddenly merged into one, despite the gossip about the other woman or the man who left his wife. Horner and Jerry held a lavish wedding in 2015, officially becoming one of Britain's most powerful power couples, rivaling the Beckhams. From then on, the image of Jerry in pristine white dresses, always smiling radiantly while holding her husband's hand, walking through the paddock, became a symbol of fulfillment. They built a model family, where stepchildren and biological children lived together under million-dollar roofs, creating a picture of happiness so perfect it made people jealous. Jerry wasn't just a wife, she became a soft shield, helping Horner soften his prickly image before the public. However, that perfect picture was more fragile than people thought. In early 2024, as Red Bull prepared for the new season with the mindset of a dominator, an atomic bomb named Inappropriate Behavior detonated right in the middle of the Milton Keynes headquarters. The entire F1 world shook when Christian Horner was accused by a female employee of controlling behavior and sending harassing messages. Imagine the suffocating atmosphere during those dark days of February. Christian Horner, the man who always held his head high, now had to trudge into 8-hour interrogations with independent lawyers. All eyes on him were no longer filled with admiration, but curiosity, scrutiny, and gloating. Although Red Bull GmbH in Austria later declared him innocent after an internal investigation, the real nightmare had only just begun. Just 24 hours after being declared cleared, an anonymous folder containing 79 files, including screenshots of WhatsApp chats and sensitive images alleged to be Horner's, was leaked and sent to the inboxes of hundreds of journalists, FIA officials, and other team principals. It was the moment Horner's career and honor were stripped naked before the public. Flirty messages and illicit solicitations spread at light speed across social media. The hashtag #HornerOut became a global trend. His rivals, Toto Wolff and Zach Brown, publicly demanded transparency, while Jos Verstappen, father of star driver Max Verstappen, publicly poured oil on the fire, declaring the team would explode if Horner stayed. It wasn't just a love scandal, it was a brutal power struggle where Horner's fatal weakness was exploited to the fullest. In the eye of that storm, all attention turned to Geri Halliwell. What would the feisty ginger spice do when her husband was exposed to the world? People speculated about the divorce of the century, about the collapse of the model family. But then, at the Bahrain GP opening the 2024 season, Geri appeared. She stepped off the private jet, holding Christian Horner's hand tight, walking through a forest of camera lenses with a resolute smile on her lips. Their public kiss in front of the Red Bull garage that day was a masterclass in crisis management, a steely message, "We are fine." But behind that forced smile, observant people recognized the weary eyes and deep hurt of the woman. Horner won the legal battle, kept his seat temporarily, and kept his wife by his side. But the price paid was shattered respect. That scandal was like a large crack in the castle's foundation, causing it to shake violently before the toxic winds of the later year, 2020. And when the stage lights turned off, when the villa doors closed, people wondered where Christian Horner found so much energy to fight the world while maintaining a lavish life few could imagine. When million-dollar supercars sit next to a donkey stable. If power is the most addictive drug in the world of Formula One, then money is the glamorous shell protecting those in power from the harshness of reality. For Christian Horner, the massive fortune he accumulated after 2 decades of dominating the track isn't just soulless numbers in a bank account. It is proof of his status as a tycoon, a ticket into the most elite class of British society. Have you ever wondered how a man who once earned a salary of up to $12 million a year, not counting huge bonuses after each championship, spends his money? The answer doesn't lie in diamond-encrusted watches or flashy suits, but in how he constructs a separate world where he is the absolute, inviolable king. Horner's personal empire isn't in noisy Milton Keynes, but hidden behind the fortified iron gates of the English countryside. He and Geri Halliwell own $2 million properties, but the most prominent is the vast estate in Banbury, Oxfordshire. This isn't simply a house, it is a miniature castle exquisitely restored from an ancient farm. Stepping in here, you see an interesting, almost quirky contrast in Christian Horner. On the track, he is a worshiper of high tech, obsessed with every millimeter of aerodynamics and computer data. But when he comes home, the F1 boss transforms into a genuine gentleman farmer. He is enamored with the pastoral life, where he can pull on mud-stained Wellington boots, walk around the artificial lake, and personally care for his livestock. What surprises people most about Horner's hobbies isn't expensive racehorses, though he has plenty, but donkeys. That's right, you didn't mishear. In his lavish stables, Horner keeps donkeys as his most pampered pets. He names them, talks to them, and considers it the best psychological therapy to forget the political infighting at Red Bull. The image of the fire-breathing team principal, who once made Toto Wolff smash a table in anger. Lovingly petting a donkey on a peaceful Sunday morning is a very human touch, but also full of the indulgence of the super-rich. Additionally, this estate is a place for private parties, where wine flows like a stream and the guests are names that would make ordinary people dizzy. Christian Horner's garage is another story, where the passion for speed is most clearly visible. If the farm is where he seeks a peaceful past, the car collection is where he asserts his current class. Sitting solemnly in the center is not a mass-market Ferrari or Lamborghini, but the masterpiece Aston Martin Valkyrie worth over $3 million. This isn't just a car, it is the spiritual child conceived from the collaboration between his Red Bull team and the genius Adrian Newey. Owning it is like Horner holding a piece of his own history. Next to that modern monster are elegant classic British ladies, the legendary silver Aston Martin DB5 identical to Agent 007's car, and a beautiful Shelby Cobra 289. Every time the sound of a classic V8 or V12 engine echoes through the estate grounds, it is Horner reminding himself how far he has come from that go-kart driving boy. And naturally, money also opens relationship doors that ordinary people cannot touch. Horner's life consists of intimate gatherings with the David Beckham family. Dinners cooked by super chef Gordon Ramsay, a close friend, right in his own home. He is also one of the few figures in sports with close ties to the British royal family, even receiving a CBE from the Prince, now King, for his contributions to motorsport. Bernie Ecclestone, the true godfather of F1, famously unapproachable, also considers Horner a close friend, often playing backgammon together during luxury vacations in Switzerland. Christian Horner's life, viewed from the outside, is a flawless dream. Overflowing money, magnificent mansions, lined-up supercars, and powerful friends, he has built himself a solid fortress, seemingly unshakable. But there is a cruel paradox of life when you have too much to lose. Fear begins to creep in. The lavish parties, the expensive cars, or the peace beside the donkeys, all are maintained by his power and position at Red Bull. So what happens when that throne collapses? The July fall and the final calculation. July 9th, 2025 will forever be etched in the annals of this sport as Judgment Day. That was the day Christian Horner, the longest-serving, most successful, and most controversial team principal, was officially stripped of his crown. There was no tearful farewell ceremony, no warm hugs from longtime associates, only a brief press release, sharp as a scalpel, announcing that his reign of over 2 decades at Milton Keynes had ended. The Red Bull empire he molded with his own hands from the ashes of Jaguar had decided to transfuse blood to survive. The cause of this painful fall didn't come from a single collision, but was the consequence of a wound that had festered for 2 long years. Since the shocking scandal in early 2024, although Horner survived the media storm, the foundation of his power had been hollowed out from the inside. The departure of Adrian Newey, the brain behind the championship cars the previous year, was like extracting the soul of the team. The RB21 of the 2025 season, the first post-Newey car, became a humiliating disappointment. It was slow, hard to handle, and constantly suffered glitches, causing Max Verstappen, the brightest star and also the most hot-tempered, to not hesitate in publicly criticizing the leadership on global television, when performance plummeted without breaks, falling to 4th place in the constructors' standings. Horner's final shield support from the major Thai shareholder Chalerm Yovidya shattered under terrible pressure from the Austrian shareholder faction. The replacement happened so quickly it was cruel. Laurent Mikis was appointed to sit in the hot seat that Horner had warmed for 20 years. People spoke of a contract severance package worth up to £80 million, a colossal figure enough for anyone to live comfortably for 10 lifetimes. But for a man addicted to power like Horner, money at this moment was just meaningless paper used to bandage a bleeding ego. He left the Milton Keynes headquarters, where every blade of grass, every brick bore his footprint, to return to the empty estate, the image of him silently driving out of the factory gates for the last time, leaving behind the sound of wheel guns and the cheers of a golden era, carried the tragic color of a defeated general. Currently, Christian Horner lives more implicitly, avoiding media lenses, spending time with family and the pastoral hobbies he once considered merely temporary escapes. But this silence seems to be only the calm before a new storm. At 52, Christian Horner is still too young, too full of energy, and too competitive to accept retiring and raising donkeys for the rest of his life. In the private parties of London's elite, whispers never cease. Some say he has had secret meetings with Lawrence Stroll, the billionaire owner of Aston Martin, even though Stroll publicly denied inviting Horner to be team principal. But in F1, never just means not yet. Even bolder rumors suggest that Horner is nurturing a sweet revenge plan, establishing a completely new 12th racing team, or acquiring a struggling team like Alpine to return to the track and defeat Red Bull itself. He is also rumored to be penning a shocking memoir, promising to expose all the darkest palace secrets of F1 over the past 20 years. From secret agreements and covered-up scandals to the true faces of those who stabbed him in the back. If this book is released, it will be a second atomic bomb, with destructive power even greater than the 2024 scandal. Looking back at Christian Horner's journey, what do we see, a scheming villain or a hero buried by the times? Perhaps both. He is the perfect embodiment of the Formula One world: glamorous, ruthless, dizzyingly fast, and never compromising. He turned a drinks company team into a global sports empire, changed how people do marketing and racing, and created great champions, no matter how bitter the ending of 2025 is. His legacy stands tall. The silver trophies in the Red Bull cabinet may be covered in dust, but the name Christian Horner will remain a scar, an indelible mark in the history of this sport. We are not responsible if you misinterpret or misapply this content. Please consider, verify, and receive selectively. Found it interesting? Give a like, comment, share, or subscribe to the channel. That is the fire that fuels us to tell more top-tier stories about other superstars.